What's up guys, today I'm going to be bringing you guys what I believe to be the best settings and sensitivity for Fortnite on console. And I just wanted to start off the video by saying thank you for the amount of support I got on my last video. The video has like 6.7k views and almost 100 likes, so thank you for that. And I don't expect this video to do nearly as good as the last video, but I just wanted to let you guys know I really appreciate the support, and it honestly kind of motivated me to put out another video. With that out of the way, let's get right into the best settings and sensitivity for console. Starting from the top of the game settings, which is matchmaking region, you're going to want to make sure that's set to auto just because you want it to automatically put you in the region you are in. Unless you want to play in another region, that's perfectly fine, but just know you're going to be having higher ping and more network issues. So to avoid that complication, I'll just leave it on auto. Next, you have your two sensitivities. You have your X sensitivity and your Y sensitivity. Your X sensitivity controls how fast you look left and right, and your Y sensitivity controls how fast you look up and down. Now, before that update came out that introduced different building sensitivities, I would have told you to have any sensitivity higher than 7 and just find one that fits comfortable there. Now, in my opinion, the best sensitivity is whatever you want it to be, just because you have your own separate building sensitivity. I would use a sensitivity that helps you the best when aiming. You can lower your sensitivity, you can have it high, whatever feels more comfortable while aiming. I know in the title it says best sensitivity, but in reality, with this new building change that introduced building sensitivity, there is no best X and Y sensitivity anymore. You should use, again, whatever is the most comfortable for you, and use something that isn't too slow or too fast. Trust me, if you mess around with a bunch of different sensitivities, you will find one that you are most comfortable with. With that being said, I still wouldn't recommend a very slow X and Y sensitivity. Something like 3 or 4 is a little bit too slow. I'd recommend running a sensitivity past 4 and maybe 5 and up for both your X and Y sensitivities. Keep in mind, I changed my sensitivity a bunch while playing Fortnite. I started off at 6 sensitivity and I somehow made my way to 0.92 and 0.85. As for my controller targeting and controller scope sensitivity, they're around default, if not the default settings. I wouldn't really mess with those too much just because you want to keep those consistent. So just leave those the same, don't touch them, just leave them whatever they're on. Next is a very important setting, which is your building sensitivity. Now for this one, it's going to be really hard for me to tell you which one is the best just because it all depends on which sensitivity you play on with your X and Y axis. What building sensitivity does is it separates your normal X and Y sensitivity from your builder mode sensitivity, and the multiplier on that sensitivity is different based on your X and Y sensitivity. I'm not 100% sure how the math works, but just know that your X and Y sensitivities do impact your building sensitivity. My building sensitivity is a 1.2 and my X sensitivity is a 0.92. And that by itself is pretty fast. I used to have my building sensitivity a little bit faster, but it was just too quick for me and I couldn't keep up with the speed I put it on, so I lowered the speed. And based on whatever your X and Y sensitivities are on, you're going to want to increase your building sensitivity on that. What I mean by that is if you're running a low sensitivity like 5, and to keep it simple, I'm going to keep the X and Y sensitivities the same. If you're running a low sensitivity like 5, you're going to want to make your building speed much higher. So your multiplier is going to be like 1.5, 2.0, 2.5. Something that feels fast and feels right. And if you're on the higher end of sensitivities like 8 or 9, you're going to want to make your multiplier a little bit less, maybe like 1.2, 1.05, or 1.10. Again, same as your X and Y sensitivities, you're going to have to mess around with these sensitivities just to see what fits best for you. Going down the rest of these settings, they're not too important, so I'm going to go down to the next important setting, and that setting is sprint by default. I have this set to on just because of the keybinds that I run. I'm going to go over those keybinds briefly, and if you want to see a complete video of what keybinds I run and which ones I think are the best, you can check my last video and you can see what works best for you. But to keep it simple, if you're going to want to use the keybinds that I use, I would keep sprint by default on. But if you're going to just do your own thing, have your own keybinds, then just keep that off. Next is sprint cancels reloading, and I have that set to off just because there's other ways out there to cancel your reloading and you really don't need your sprint button to cancel your reload. Then we have tap to search / interact, and I personally keep this off just because it makes me feel more in control. If you have it on, all it does is it just changes your revive and when you're searching through ammo boxes to just be a tap button instead of you holding it down. These next settings aren't too important, so I'm just going to tell you whether I have it on or off. If you want to, you can just look at it yourself and you can just skip what I say. But for toggle targeting, I have that off. Reset building choice I have on, and aim assist I have on. For edit mode aim assist, you want to make sure that's turned off just because it's trying to find the nearest center of each circle you're editing to, so it's going to have a magnetic field to it, and it's not going to let you rotate and drag and edit your stairs the way you want to. The next setting is turbo building, and you want to make sure that's on. You want to make sure auto material change is on and controller auto run is off. Next we have allow cross-platform parties, and I guess if you have friends on Xbox or on other platforms, you're going to want to play with them, so if you do, make sure you have that on. Then we have auto open doors, which you want to have set to off as well. Next you have auto pick up weapons, which you also want off. Auto sort consumables to the right. This one is kind of, I didn't have it on earlier, but then I switched to it and I kind of got used to it. So I would prefer to have this on, so I recommend you guys put it on too. Builder Pro, build immediately. Now this is a completely new setting that was added in, I think, like 2 patches ago, and you're gonna want to have this on just because it helps you build much faster. So if you don't have it on, when you pull out, like, let's say your floor piece, you have to look at it first and then click it again, so you're clicking it twice. While in this case, if you're running Builder Pro, which you should be running, you just have to press the button once and it will set that piece. That was the last important game setting. Now moving on to the HUD settings, all of them should be on automatically. They should all be perfectly fine. But the one thing that you should put on that's not on automatically is your net debug stats. Your net debug stats pretty much just show you if you're lagging. It shows your ping and packet loss. So your ping should be a constant number or relatively around the same number, maybe 30, 34. It should be around there. And you'll know if you're lagging if your ping jumps up very high or if your packet loss goes from 0 to another number. And finally, we have the controller keybind settings. And I'm not going to go too much in depth of why I run these settings. If you want to see that, you can see my video that I posted before, which is much more detailed of why these are the best keybinds. But pretty much a more simplified version of it is my left click button is my edit button, and I have sprint by default on. That's why I said if you're going to copy down the key maps that I have, you're going to want to make sure that sprint by default is on. And if you're not going to use my custom keybinds or someone else's or your own custom keybinds, just at least use Builder Pro, just because if you don't use Builder Pro, you're automatically putting yourself at a disadvantage when build fighting other people. If you enjoyed this updated sensitivity and settings video, please leave a like and subscribe if you